I'm actually going to mute everybody at home as well so that we don't hear your phone ring or your husband grumble or whatever. Okay, so here we go. Let's get started. Chin up and down. We're just going to warm up, loosen up. And start off the week right. Everybody feels good. You all told me you feel good today, and I aim to keep it that way. We're going to stick with the 70-second intervals we've been doing. I'm looking left and right now with the head. And we'll just see how that goes. Remember, you only have to do as much as feels good for you. So if you're having an off day, that's okay. Do whatever you can. I'm reaching one arm at a time, loosening up the shoulders a little bit. Excellent. And then elbows up like goalposts. We're going to sweep the elbows together in front and then open and pinch the shoulders together and back. Stretching front of the shoulders and then across the shoulders and back. Very nice. And circles at the shoulder. So I've got my hands down low, small circles. Not too big, just nice and easy. Just get some juice going into the joints. And I'm circling the other way. Beautiful. Standing up nice and tall, easy side bends. So stand up tall, get lots of space between the vertebrae and your spine, and then just take an easy tilt one way and the other. Beautiful. That was side to side with the spine. Let's go front to back. So hands on your knees, tuck your tail between your legs, arch your back, tuck your chin, point your belly button toward your nose, and then tilt your pelvis the other way, tail in the air, belly button toward your toes, and then lift and lengthen through your spine. And just come back and forth between cat and cow. Take your time, let everything stretch out and loosen up. Excellent. And then come on back up to upright. And let's take the spine in a nice, gentle rotation. So belly button in a little bit. And just gently rotating. Just trying to get things loose and awake and easy today. Excellent. Switching now to big hip circles. And switch directions. Excellent. And then I'm going to do one leg at a time, hip circles. So grab something to hold on to if you need it. I've got bent knee and I'm just circling that knee around wherever it's willing to go without pain. Just getting that hip a little bit looser in its socket. And then switching directions. And switching legs. And then switching directions. Beautiful, down to the ankle. Circle a few times one way and a few times the other way. And then the other foot. Circle one way. And circle the other. Excellent. Okay, we're getting ready to start our alternating aerobic and strength training intervals. So I'm going to get my timer up and we're going to start with an easy march. So marching in place, you all know how to do this. If you're still getting loosened up, just take it slow. If you're already feeling good, you can pick up your knees a little bit, pump your arms a little bit, move a little bit faster, whatever works for you. And as always, feel free to hold on if you need to. I'll keep you updated on where we are in the process. You're just about halfway through. And if we do something tricky in any of the upcoming intervals and you want to just change back to an easy marching step, that always works. Oh, it feels like Monday, doesn't it? This is a long 70 seconds. Last 10 seconds. Here we go. This is your bonus. Getting stronger. Excellent. Grab your weights, one in each hand. I'm going to hinge at the hips. Hips go back, belly button in, elbows up, pointed up and back behind me, and I'm straightening to the back, and then keeping the elbows lifted as I bend. Straighten and bend. Keeping the elbows high up, keeping the work in the back of the upper arms. And I'm digging in. So I'm not swinging from my shoulders at all. Shoulders stay still, just the elbow bends. You're over halfway there. And again, feel free to put down your weights if you wear out before the end of the interval. 10 more seconds, that's it. Last little bit. Dig in if you can. Excellent, put your weights down. We're doing side lunges next. So step to the side, hip goes back, knee bends. Push back to the center. Step side, hip goes back, knee bends, back to the center. If that's too tricky for you, just do a side step. That always works as well. But if you can do the lunge, great. Turn sideways so you can see it from that angle. I'm trying to get hip to bend first, then knee. The other leg stays straight. You're halfway through. Beautiful. Good work. You're getting there. Remember, switch to a side step if you need to, but these are the last 10 seconds. And there you go. Grab one weight. One weight in both hands. Wide stance with your feet. Belly button in, corset laced up. We're going to row down one side and row down the other. Beautiful. Keep your corset laced up. As you're reaching and pulling and twisting, you want a lot of support from the abdominal muscles in front. You're halfway through. Beautiful. Paddling out on a nice, beautiful blue sky day on a calm, quiet lake. Almost done. Just a few more seconds. Excellent. Put your weights down. We're going to kick and punch. So kick with one foot, punch with the opposite hand. Kick and punch. It can be a nice low kick or a big kick, whatever you can do. Opposite hand and foot helps keep you a little bit balanced. Belly button drawn in. And you're also always welcome to hold on with one hand. Anytime you're on one leg, it's tricky. You're more than halfway through. Pace yourself. Last 10 seconds. Here we go. Excellent. I'm going to grab both weights, but you can do this just as easily with one. I'm going to come into a little half squat position, so wide stance. I've got the weights between my knees, and I'm just pulling up to my hip. So rowing from the shoulder. Shoulder pulls the arm. And that's all there is to it. Control it in both directions. And this is your lucky day. We're switching hands halfway through, not doing the whole minute on one side. Nice. And catching your breath, which you'll need for the next interval. 10 more seconds of this. Excellent. Weights down. We're going to crickets next. So wide stance with your feet, hips go back, bend hips and knees, and pop yourself up like a cricket. You don't have to jump. If you want, you can come up on your toes, or you can just do the squat and reach. But I am trying to keep my belly button drawn in, hips pushed back, torso long and lifted. You're halfway through. You can do these as fast as you want, as big or as small as you want. Whatever energy level you've got. Last 10 seconds. Oh, yay. Good. Grab your weights again, one in each hand. Stand up nice and tall, shoulders back and down, palms up, elbows bent. We're going to push forward, pull them back, rotate out to the side. Push, pull, rotate. I'm keeping my elbows in close as I rotate so that I'm rotating from the shoulder, not swinging the arms. Halfway through. Push, pull, and rotate. Keeping the weights no higher than shoulder high. Between shoulder high and waist high, you're almost done. Excellent. Put your weights down, and we're jumping rope. So, no jumping necessary, just pedaling in place and swinging your rope. So just stepping and swinging, or you can choose arms or legs. And we're halfway through, so I'm going to reverse the rope. And swing it backwards. Beautiful. Last 10 seconds. These are the ones that really count. Okay. This strength move we don't need a weight for. We're going to stand up nice and tall, one leg out to the side, and then straight back. Side and back. Keep the belly button drawn in, pelvis still. You only need to move the leg as far as you can control it. Feel free to hold on if you need to. I'm staying all the way on one leg. We'll switch at the halfway point. Side and back, side and back. Beautiful. Switch legs, side and back. Nice and controlled. Like you're moving through mud. Belly button drawn in. Nice and upright through your torso. That'll help you balance. You're almost done. There we go. Okay, hamstring curls. Step side, kick up your heel, back to back. And then you can always add the row if you want a little bit more effort. Coordinating upper and lower body. Takes a little brain work, a little coordination. It's all good for you. So you're kicking yourself in the rear. Got a nice wide stance on this. I'm squeezing the shoulders together and back. Last 10 seconds. Here we go. Beautiful. Grab your weights. One last weight move. Belly button drawn in. Hammer curl. Thumbs to shoulders. Press straight up. Thumbs to shoulders. Open all the way down. Nice and controlled in both directions. Press up only as far as your shoulders want to go. If you have any pain, put the weights down or just don't do it. You're halfway through. Beautiful. Remember, put the weights down if you get tired. Just 10 seconds left. Excellent. Put your weights down and let's work on balance for just a second. So we're going to try a couple of eyes closed moves. So make sure you have something to hold on to close by, like something you can reach without having to step or reach. And I'm going to start with just feet in a neutral position. So hip width, maybe a little bit narrower, right? So most of us have not too much trouble staying upright in that position. But if I ask you to close your eyes, it gets a little bit more interesting. You might start to feel yourself sway a little bit, and that's okay. As long as you can control the sway and feel safe. And remember, all of this is optional. If you don't feel safe closing your eyes, then you don't have to do it. I'm going to open my eyes, because I'm pretty sure all of you had no trouble with that. And I'm going to try that from a half tandem stance. So feet together and one foot just halfway forward of the other. I'm going to get my weight centered over my 2 feet, tuck my tailbone under a little bit, suck in on the belly, stand up tall and draw my shoulders back and down. I'm going to make sure I'm good and stable with my eyes open first. And then I'm going to close my eyes. And I'm just going to notice what I feel and where I feel it. I can feel if my weight shifts because the pressure becomes a little bit more on one foot or the other, on the toes of the foot versus on the heel of the foot. I can feel if my ankles are twitching. I'm going to open my eyes and switch the forward foot. Same thing, center your weight over the 2 feet, tuck your tail between your legs, belly button in, shoulders back and down. It always helps to stand up tall and get some integrity there in your torso. And then whenever you're ready, you can close your eyes if it feels okay. And just notice how your body knows when it's moving too much, when it's tilting too far. You have these proprioceptive tools that help you know where you are in space, even when your eyes are closed. I'm going to open my eyes and step out. That is something that's really good to practice on your own with some regularity, but also make sure you're doing it someplace where you're safe, where you can hold on to the kitchen sink or have somebody else in the room with you just in case you lose your bearings and get in trouble. We don't need that.
One side is easier than the other.
It's not surprising that one side is easier than the other. Most of us are lopsided. We have figured that out, haven't we? Okay, I'm going to head to the floor next. I'm going to start on my back. So if you're joining me on the floor, I'll see you down there in a second. And I am not bringing my weights with me. Go. Okay. Let's start. Oh, once again, these sounded so much more fun when I was sitting on the couch thinking them up. Much less fun when we have to actually do them. I'm going to need one of you to just sit over my shoulder and tell me no. So I'm bringing, you'll all volunteer for that, right? I'm going to bring my knees up so that they're bent to 90 degrees at the hip and the knee. I'm going to reach my right hand to my left knee and push hand into knee, knee into hand. So I get that little contraction in the belly. And then I'm going to dead bug with the opposite arm and leg. Extend and come back to center. So I'm staying with right hand on left knee. And I'm just extending left arm and right leg. And then coming back to center. Keeping that little bit of squeeze in the belly. I'm not pushing as hard as I can, just enough to feel a contraction, which then I feel a little bit more as I stretch out the opposite arm and leg. Oh, take a break in between. We're going to switch legs. So left hand on right knee, get a little squeeze in the middle. Right arm, left leg, extend long. I'm pulling in on the belly button, keeping the rib cage attached to the mat. And really concentrating on how much I feel that contraction in the abdomen. Just a couple more. And that ought to do. Excellent. So stay here on your back. This time I'm going to bring both knees up, bent to 90 degrees, belly button drawn in, rib cage pulled down. Keep that abdomen sort of hollowed out. And then I'm just going to take my knees, both knees, to one side, just a couple of degrees off center. And then to the other side, just a couple of degrees off center. So I'm keeping both shoulders on the floor and almost both hips on the floor. I get a tiny little lift off the one hip as I rotate over, but I'm trying not to go as far as I can, right? I'm not looking for range of motion here. I'm looking for control through the belly. So just when I feel, the muscles in the belly tighten up, that's where I want to stop, change direction. Keep pulling in on that belly button. Try to keep the whole bottom rib on the floor the whole time. And that feels like enough. You bet. I could tell because I was lying on the floor and I broke out into a sweat just like that. It's amazing how hard that is. All right, so let's roll over onto one side. Let's do some exercises for the sides of the hips. So, lying on one side, I'm going to bring knees forward so I'm bent at 90 degrees at the hip and 90 degrees at the knee, just like I'm sitting in a chair. I'm going to lift the top leg a couple inches off the bottom leg, keep the shin parallel to the floor. And I'm going to use my knee to draw a small, controlled oval in the air. The control is what makes it hard. So if I think about if I had a Sharpie on my knee, how smooth an oval could I draw? Would it be wiggly and bumpy? Yes, it would, but I'm trying to smooth it out. but I'm also trying to go slowly. And therein lies the rub. It is hard. And I'm going to switch directions, circle the other way. And as always, I wish I had done that 2 repetitions sooner. Nice and controlled, and that ought to be enough. Oh, yeah, I know you feel that. So I'm going to pull my feet back so that the heels are in line with the hips. And I'm doing just a regular clamshell from there. So I'm going to roll my torso a little bit forward and then open at the knees. So feet together, knees apart. Twisting the thigh bone in the hip socket. And working those muscles on the sides of your hips, which are so important for keeping your balance. Then knees stay together, feet come apart. So thigh bone rotates internally toward the midline of the body. Excellent. And then I'm going to roll over and do those same exercises on the other leg. So hips and knees bent to 90 degrees. Top leg lifts just a few inches off the bottom leg and stays parallel to the floor as we draw a nice controlled oval with the knee. That first one is deceptively easy, and then they just get harder from there. Slow and controlled. And switch directions. Excellent. Good. Take the heels, pull them back so they're lined up with your hips, and clamshell, feet together, knees apart. I'm trying to keep the pelvis still. I'm trying not to roll backwards. Doesn't matter how much of an opening you get. Matters that you feel the twist in the hip. Beautiful. Then in reverse. So knees together, feet apart. Excellent. You survived all the worst stuff. Let's roll over face down and we'll start stretching from there. Oh, goodness. Thank heavens. So I'm just resting face down with my chin on my hands. I'm going to bend one knee and draw the heel up toward the hip so that I'm stretching the front of the thigh. If you can reach without contorting yourself or hurting anything, you can grab your foot and pull it in a little bit closer, but not if it hurts your knee. And I'm just going to hold there and breathe a little bit. Try to hold the position, but release the tension. Then releasing that leg, and same thing on the other side. Bend the knee, draw the heel toward the hip. If you can reach the foot or the ankle or the hem of your pants, you can pull the heel in closer, but only if you need to feel a good stretch. And I'm just going to try to relax there. And let that foot go. I'm going back to the first leg, and I'm going to pull that knee out to the side and up toward about hip height. So I have approximately a 90-degree bend in the knee and approximately a 90-degree bend in the hip. And I'm trying to flatten out like a flounder. So stretching the inner thigh here. Feel free to adjust the angle at your knee and your hip to get a position that you can rest in comfortably. And just giving some of those tight muscles time to open up a little bit. Use your breath, use the exhale to release the tension. I'm going to bring feet back together, and other leg pulls out to the side and up to about hip high. And then I'm flattening out, letting the inside of the thigh get a little stretch. Not supposed to hurt, so don't force it. This is one where you're letting gravity do most of the work. All you have to do is let go a little bit. Nice, so bringing that leg back and pushing up to hands and knees for cat-cow. So start in a nice tabletop position, knees under hips, hands under shoulders, long spine. So really think about getting long from head to tail first, and then tuck the tail, arch the back, tuck the chin, and reverse the tilt. Point your belly button toward your toes and lift up and out with your head and neck. So alternating from cat to cow. And we're trying to get as much motion out of your spine as it will give you. And you can take your time. If you find a tight spot and you want to just hang out there a little bit, go right ahead. And then I'm going to shift back into child's pose. So I'm bringing toes together, knees apart a little bit, tuck the tailbone, and sit back toward my heels. I'm doing that slowly because I love that stretch in the low back. I'm lowering down onto my forearms and maybe all the way down to the forehead. If your shoulders will do that, great. If not, don't worry. This is such a tricky position for a lot of people. There are so many potential points of problem. So don't worry if you have multiple problem areas here. Your knees might feel too tight, your ankles, your shoulders. Just pause for a second, take a couple of deep breaths. Some of the things that complain initially will settle down and others won't. But give them a chance to settle before you try to move out of the position. If you sit there for a couple of breaths and something is still uncomfortable, then it's a good time to move. So come out by pushing forward. And let's come up to seated. And let's do the straddle sit. So try to get your sit bones underneath you. Your feet can be as wide apart or as close together as they need to be for you to get your sit bones underneath you. Some of you will find this a little bit easier this time since we did that flounder stretch. We already opened up the inner thighs a little bit. I'm going to turn to face one leg, lift up tall through the spine, and begin to hinge at the hip, reaching my chin toward my toes, and pausing as soon as I feel some resistance in the back of the leg. I just take a little pause, stop pushing, take a breath, and as I exhale, I try to sink a little deeper in. That trick almost always works. Then back up into the center and around to the other side, tall through your spine, hinge at the hip, go slowly so you can catch it when you first hit that little bit of resistance. Take a breath there. And let the exhale relax the tension. Beautiful. Come back up in the middle, and I'm going to stretch out on my back. And start with feet a little bit wider than the hips. So if I sit up, it looks like my legs are making an M shape. And then I'm just going to windshield wiper with the knees. So both knees go to one side and both knees go to the other side. And I'm going to take my time here. This is just to loosen up the hips. And then we'll bring feet back to hip width apart. And I'm going to put one foot on top of the other knee and waggle that knee so that I, again, loosen up the hip a little bit. This is the figure 4 position. If that's enough stretch for the hip of that top leg, stay right there. If you want a deeper stretch, thread the needle with your hands, draw your legs in toward you. And let the outer side of the bent leg hip stretch a little bit. Take a couple of breaths, let it relax. And then if you want to add the rotation, I like to let go and ease out just a little bit and then rotate both legs across the body. So shoulders stay on the floor. And bring both legs over. And pause right there for a stretch down the outside of the hip. And Belly in, lace up your corset, bring the legs back to center, untangle, and switch, other foot on top. I'm going to wiggle the knee, loosen up the hip. Stay right there if you want, or thread the needle, pull the legs in toward you. And get a little bit more stretch on the hip. And then if you want to rotate, ease out just a little bit and then come across with the legs. And settle in gently. And then try to relax once you're there. Then draw in on the belly and pull the legs back to center and untangle. Let's do just a little bit of a chin tuck next. So get your spine long and straight. So you're in a nice neutral position with your spine, and all I want you to do is keep your head on the floor while you tuck your chin and untuck it. So don't be surprised if your chin doesn't move much. If your head sits a little forward of your shoulders, it's going to take some time to reorient the muscles. But this is the exercise that'll do it. Tuck the chin and release it. Tuck and release. So you're contracting the deep layer of neck flexor muscles in the front, and I'm sure you can feel the stretch at the base of your skull of the muscles in the back of your neck. Beautiful. Back to neutral. I'm going to stretch one leg out straight on the floor, hug the other knee into the chest, pulling in with one leg and reaching long with the other. Again, nice deep breath. And switch legs. Reach long with the straight leg, pull in with the bent leg. And then release that knee, stretch out your legs. Get your spine long and straight. Let your feet flop out to the side. Arms out to the sides, palms up so your shoulders roll back to the floor. And start to bring your attention to your breath. Feel the breath move in and out of your lungs. Maybe as you're settling down here, you can feel that gentle, tingly buzz of your endorphins floating around, making you happy. And as your breath becomes regular and gentle, just let the muscles start to relax. Feel the tension draining out of the muscles and into the floor. Be sure to take a second here and congratulate yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Everything you did today was better than nothing. Everything you did today helped you get stronger and more flexible. And everything you did today builds on whatever you did yesterday and the day before. And that should make you proud. So whenever you're ready, start to think about moving your fingers and toes, stretching and reaching.